Hello everybody, welcome back to Waffles RC. For the people that are still watching, thank you so much. Views are down, but don't care. We're here building RCs. We're going to get back onto the 4Runner. I'm just going to keep going and hopefully people will keep getting inspired and go and build their own. Little public service announcement. If you have a car that runs on gas or petrol, as the rest of the world calls it, go outside, get some tools, check your spark plugs. That contact is supposed to be much closer than what that actually is. So, if you have a gas or petrol car, go out and change your spark plugs. Don't wait for it to just die on your way to work, or not die, but if you have a V6 and it kicks down to 3 cylinders, don't wait for that to happen. Just go out and change your spark plugs. Trust me. Because that certainly didn't happen to me last week. Other note, we have welding wire, new tips, so we can get back to welding on the 4Runner. First thing we're going to do, going to get the metal piece, just flat piece of metal, cut out right in here, tack that in, and I'm going to start working on the sliders. Flat piece of metal is just here so that, like I said last week, mount all the electronics, receiver, power button, all that stuff. The other thing on the list for today is to make the battery tray somewhere in this general area and reinforce this upper body mount bar. So let's get started. So as you can see, very technical, using proper measurements. There we go. There's one. Mark it. Oh, it's in the way. Did I do it the same? Probably not. Nope, sure didn't. Oh, don't make me use a tape measure. Okay, we'll use a tape measure. Why do they have to make everything so difficult to get into nowadays? That's just unnecessary. All brand new. Minus that, but it works. Helps if you turn the gas on. Okay, so these are the sliders that are going on the 4Runner. So they'll be coming in a couple weeks, hopefully 1 week from right now. And this is what I made. Just did the outside shape, because trying to do those holes, that's fine when they're 4 feet long. When they're 5 inches long, trying to do metal there, then drill holes without it warping, it's going to be a little too hard. Somehow weld them on there, kick them up at a fun little angle, because we ordered these ones with a 20-degree up angle, so I will guesstimate 20 degrees because I do not have a degree finder. or whatever anybody else wants to correct me in the comments of what it's called, but a degree finder is what I am referring it to. So let's weld these on. And there you have some sliders. Still have to go through and fully weld this thing up, so that is going to be more than strong enough. You get the basic idea. It has the kickouts, it's at the angle. Gonna make this thing look close to that, but with a solid axle. So next thing, for the bracing for this back hoop for the body mount, I'm gonna run a bar, 2 of them, across. I'm gonna run it down just like that and connect it up to the front one, just to give the roof some strength for when it rolls over. So that way it'll hopefully protect the body a little bit more, give it some rigidity. I'm going to work on that and we'll be right back to show you what I did. Okay, so the loud noise is the kid next door playing basketball. So this is what I came up with. Nice and strong. Sure does look funny like this, but when you put the body on, look at that, nice and strong. That's the whole goal, is I want to be able to have it roll over and not just collapse the body, crack all the paint. This thing is pretty well protected. Still got to do one for the back to help with that business. Front's pretty well protected. And you guys know how it is. I was on a roll, so I kept going and I made a battery tray. And have it change my mind of where I'm going to put it. Not going to put it here because that'll put too much weight in the back. Whole goal with the battery tray is just bam. So that way it can move all over the place. Still have to make some sides for it. So the battery will sit essentially just like that. Keep it low down for center of gravity. Got to do the sides for this. That way it really will hold the battery in. Cut some slots in it to put some Velcro, be able to change it out. And then figure out a place to mount it where I can still get the screwdriver in there to get to those. Honestly thinking of just doing that, but I don't think that'll work, so I may just do some more legs off of it. But that's going to be the spot for the battery, so we will get back to that probably tomorrow because I got stuff to do. And welcome to the next day. I have been working. I got the battery tray made. It's still a little warm. It's welded to the frame. Still have access to those bolts and to get to my drive shaft, which I'm gonna have to get new drive shafts because the pins don't work. They just go right through it, so they're not locking on. So the next step, now that we have the battery sitting here, is to test this. So we are going to wire everything up, turn it on, and then take it for a little test drive, see how it works. Nothing is greased, nothing is Loctited, and I know that Loctited is not a word. Nothing has Loctite on it, but I still have to fully weld this thing, so I have to take everything apart. I still have to grease everything, so all of it has to come apart. This is going to be purely just to make sure that this thing works and doesn't get bound up or just doesn't perform how I want it to. So let's get a battery in. Then for the people that don't know, I'll walk you through the wiring and how to do everything on this particular setup. It's pretty relatively universal. So I'll do a quick walkthrough on what plugs go where into the receiver. So for the Forerunner, I'm going to be running the radio link, controller, and receiver. It's the same receiver and everything that I use for the hauler. Choosing to do the radio link because these are all affordable. If you look at the instructions that you need a magnifying glass to be able to read on the radio links, channel 1 is the steering and channel 2 is the throttle. On this one, 3, 4, and 5, that's all auxiliary stuff. So this is all going to be different depending on which motor and ESC you're using, what servo you're using. It'll all be different, but there's 3 prongs. One is a positive, one is a negative, the other is a signal. And it tells you in the incredibly small instructions which one of these pins is which. So for this particular motor and ESC, red is positive, black is negative, white is signal. So since this is for the motor, we're going to put this in channel 2, and according to the instructions, that's how you want it. You want signal, power, ground, that is hooked up, and now that is in channel 2. Steering servos always seem to come with different colors. It all just kind of depends on whoever makes them. So since these wires don't match normal colors of red, black, and white, we have yellow, red, and brown. The way that I've been able to guess my way through all this is this plug has one side where you can see the contacts, the other side where you can't. Just match it up to the one that you know is correct. Plug that into channel 1. Now we have our steering. I have the 2 batteries from the hauler. One of these is dead. I don't remember which one. So we're going to find out together. So once you have your receiver plugged in, take your battery, plug it in. Another tip, when you're building an RC, whether you're welding one or just assembling one, doesn't matter which one, always on your first turn on, always disconnect this from the servo, because when you first turn it on, it's going to self-center it. So you don't want to have it on there turned like that and then it just cranks it and strips it. So always disconnect that until you have power to everything. So we have this turned on. Once again, this is all going to be specific to whichever receiver you are doing, but with the radio link, I already set this one up. So I have it on model 3, which is going to be this one. So now when I turn this on, I have to bind it, which once again, this will be different on everyone, but radio link, you have a little reset switch down here. So once you turn the power on, you hold that, and it should bind up to the radio. Or maybe you're supposed to... Okay, well, that was a good sign. So yeah, you turn it on, hold that little reset switch, and it'll bind it up to your radio. So let's see. And it is all backwards, but it is working. Let me just change the drive to forwards rather than, or reverse it because of how everything is. Then we'll be right back. All right, we got it all hooked up correctly. We have steering, which I have to adjust the endpoints. By adjusting the endpoints, you're basically telling it when to stop turning. So you want it to stop turning right before the axle wants to stop turning. All right, so this is all working. Set my endpoints, corrected my steering. So technically, this thing's ready to go. I'm gonna put the body on. Oh, I gotta cut those back fenders out a bit more. Cut the back fenders out, put the body on, then we'll take it on some rocks, see how it does. So for those of you wondering why I run such long shocks, that right there is why. Still got all 4 tires on the ground, fully extended. That's tucked up into the fender real nice. I'm happy with that. was worried about the center of gravity being so high. Got some more body trimming to do. There's our sliders coming into play. Not exactly a speed demon. Almost forgot the most important step, quite literally. Can it go up the steps? That is my number one test, so let's see. No, I don't know what that noise is, but it's all made of metal, so. Oh, it's just the skid plate. Well, it passed the step test, so got us a good crawler right there. You're good. Okay, well that was a very successful test. I'm very happy with how it performed. Has some bugs, not very many though, other than the drive shafts, the pins not being correct. I do have to chop some more out of the body because the rear end flexes like nobody's business. It performed very well. I'm genuinely surprised and very happy with it. Well, I'm not surprised. They all perform really well if you set them up correctly. But that's not to say that this thing doesn't still have a few things that I have to cut back off. I still have to re-weld the whole thing, but mainly, one of the main things, I don't know if you can see it here without the body on it, but the front end sits much higher than the rear end. Did that on purpose. I put these here, totally guessing. I like the rear ends to flex a lot when you angle them like this. It allows the rear end to droop a lot further, but when driving it, it's basically sitting like that. So I need to move these so I can get the rear end up a little bit higher, get it level with the front, and that'll most likely help with some of the body rubbing issues as well. Yes, the battery is being held with zip ties. No, that's not permanent. It's just, I'm gonna do Velcro. This was, remember, just a test. Even taking it out, testing it like that, that's the reason why none of this is fully welded, is because I have to cut these off. I gotta move them, gotta put them in a different location. So if that was fully welded, that would be a big pain. So I don't fully weld anything until it is all said and done and tested. That's the main thing, is tested. So now it's tested, I know what I have to do. So the next step in the next video will be a time lapse of me disassembling this whole thing, welding it all up, creating a piece back here, and I'm going to do a front bumper, just a tube bumper. Yes, it's not like that, I understand, but the bumper that came with that body doesn't really look very good and doesn't look like that. So remember, solid axle, IFS. So that's the difference here. And then we'll get the body painted and this thing will be ready to add to the wall of RCs. Oh, and speaking of that, see all those lights? I made this bracket for them to go onto and welded the little tabs on there. As you can see, none of them are wired up. I haven't gotten there yet, but made all that. And tell me that doesn't look good. I think it looks really good. So don't tell me, because that's what I think. So if anybody was wondering, can I actually do stuff to big trucks, not just little ones? The answer is yes. I get all these ideas is from experience with big trucks or with full-size trucks. So that's where I get all my ideas. That's why it's very unconventional, because I'm not doing what's good for an RC. I'm doing what's good for a big truck and just scaling it down. I want to hear from you guys. What else should I do to this thing accessory wise? Remember, I want to keep it looking like my own truck, so not going to go super crazy with changing the aesthetics of it, other than should we add lights, a winch in the front bumper that I'm going to build, a winch in the back, under chassis lights, whatever you got. Let me know in the comments, and maybe somebody will recommend something that is super fun, not super expensive, or I'll find a way to make it myself. So let me know in the comments what you guys want to, what else you want to see on this thing. So from Waffles RC, just want to say thank you all very much. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you on the next one when we get even further on this thing. And we'll take it out with one of the other ones, probably the white truck, the white Toyota that I built, and we'll go out there and have some fun. See you on the next video.